Persistence is required, constant effort. We are the actual vehicles by which truth operates in the world. Therefore, it is our shared responsibility at this time to help to awaken others by continuously speaking the truth, even if we feel burdened by this task, even if we feel no one is listening, and even if it makes all involved in this process feel uncomfortable. It's not about feeling comfort, folks. It's not about staying complacent. It's about shaking things up, making people feel uncomfortable. Whoever told anybody that the truth would make you all warm and fuzzy inside? Whoever told anybody that? Why do people want to believe that? Whoever said that that was the case? The truth is horrible and yet needs to be embraced as a lover. Okay? With dedication to it, even in its full horror. Thomas Paine, who I feel was the most enlightened person on the continent at the time of the American Revolution, personally. He's one of my personal heroes. And walked in the vicinity where I walk sometimes now. He said, "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph." I think he was one of the true anarchists that was living amongst us in the colonial days. Words attributed to the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. He said, "There are only two mistakes that one can ever make on the path to truth: not starting and not going all the way." All the way. I wrap up a lot of my podcasts with this quote because I love it so much. It's about persistence. It's not about saying, "Hey, I went this far and now I'm uncomfortable to see the rest of the picture. I made it 3/4 up the mountain. That's far enough. Let me set up my base camp here. I'll pitch my tent and I'm staying here. No farther. I don't want to see the peak." Okay? Until we become fully enlightened and go all the way to the summit, don't expect things to change. Don't expect them to get better. The truth has to be taken in its fullness. We need real-world practical skills. You know, this isn't just about, "Oh, I know this now, and I don't actually need any skills." Okay? To communicate truth, skill is required. Knowledge is required. Okay? To reach a good amount of people. Yeah, you can just talk to the people around you. You can communicate, to a small fraction of people that way. I'm not saying don't do that, even if you don't have these other skills. I'm saying if you want to get it out in a big way to the masses of people, and in the new form of media, which is doing things like this, through the correct and positive and empowering use of technology. People want to say, "Oh, technology is not, there's no role for it. We've got to get rid of technology." Technology is a thing that improves life at every scale and level. It's a tool. It's how it's used. Exactly. Okay? We're using technology for a powerful and enlightening purpose right now. And that's its intended use. It's to serve humanity and to serve truth. Okay? So real-world skills in the technological era, I feel, are absolutely required, and here's some of them. You need good organizational skills. Like, hey, Art and Chris did this right today. They set this up right. I've seen people set things up real badly. And I've seen it done the correct way, which is this way. And Richard and Lisa, they've done a brilliant job here getting this all on film. And this will be going online and reaching a real wider base of people as a result. All right? So you need organizational skills. Some people are better than that with others. I'm pretty good with organization. I feel I have good, powerful organization skills. Communication skills. You need to have a way with words. You need to have a good vocabulary. You need to organize words correctly. You need to be able to communicate concepts in often a very linear fashion to people so that they can readily absorb it easily. If you're all over the place, they're not going to get the concept. You need graphic design skills in many cases. I couldn't build a presentation like this without my background in graphic design. And, thank God I have it. You know, it's like I got jobs like I did in the past, and sort of they prepared me for everything that I was going to do in my future. Synchronistically worked out like that. But, you know, you at least got to know how to lay out a flyer, folks. How many people here can lay out a simple flyer? That's awesome. I'm so highly impressed by that. I'm telling you, I've asked people that in other presentations, like 2 people raised their hand. That's awesome, okay? You should be proud of that. Presentation skills, like putting something like this together. How many people have basic presentation skills with a computer? All right, a little less, but not bad either. I'm impressed, okay? Audio skills, you know? Sometimes you got to work with audio, and, you know, podcast audio, etc. Video editing skills. I know Richard's a master at that. Website development. You know, this was laborious in the past, just 10 years ago. You know, we have free open source content management systems now that make this almost a breeze. You know, it's a somewhat little bit of a learning curve, but once you get there, hey, you're off to the races. You can maintain multiple websites then, right? So how many people can build a simple website by a show of hands? That's also awesome. I mean, you know, kudos. Whoever hates that word, you know, whatever. But I'm telling you, that's impressive. For an amount of people in one room to have all those skills, I'm impressed. It's very rare, all right? Networking skills. I mean, literally like people skills. I'm weak on this, all right? I can do it. I don't like doing it. I don't like marketing and promotion either. I'm not a good marketer of my work. I'm trying to get better at that, but I need some work with that. And maybe there's people that can help me with that. But, you know, I have a good chunk of all these skills. I could do all of them. I'm not so good on the last 2. I need more work. But, you know, if most of us don't have these skills, we're not going to be reaching the optimum number of people. We need to become the new media that is dedicated to truth and put that out there for other people's consumption and other people's edification. All right? We are the answer. We are the illuminators, the ones who will help to enlighten other people once we've taken this knowledge into ourselves. And then that's only the beginning, folks. You got to put it back out there. I tell people the story. I had all this knowledge for a long time, sitting on it, doing nothing with it, just taking more in. Oh, I want to make sure I got it all right. I want to make sure I got the whole picture. I go to a meeting in the state of Virginia. Virgin, the goddess, okay? Care. Very synchronistic. A woman comes up to me. She says, "You're one of the most knowledgeable people I've come across. What are you doing?" So what do you mean, what am I doing? She said, I mean, what are you doing with all the knowledge you have? You doing lectures, presentations, videos, audio? What are you doing? I'm not doing any of those things. I'm just taking a lot more in, downloading a lot more videos. She goes like this, and it's just so matter-of-factly and harshly. What makes you think you have the right to do that? What makes you think you can keep taking all of this in, all of this in, all of this in, and not put any of it back out? What makes you think you even have a right to do that? It was like somebody hit me in the face. She said, this was her phrase. She said, I'll never forget it, "You're Niagara Falls in a water balloon." You're taking all this in and all this pressure building up. It's got no outlet. It's going to burst. She said, you have to put an outlet valve on that knowledge and let it flow out of you and go out to others, and then more will come in. Right now, there's no pressure release valve. You're Niagara Falls in a water balloon. It's like a truck ran me over, you know? Literally like I got hit by a truck. I came up with the idea for what on earth is happening like a couple of weeks after that, because that's all I could think about. All I could think about is what she said. It kept echoing in my head. What makes you think you have a right to do that? And didn't say it nice. Like said it like, you know, you're not doing the right thing here. Get up off your ass and do something. That was the tone it was said in. And I totally appreciate it, you know. Who knows, man? If that wasn't said to me at that time, I might not be doing anything. I might not have done a thing. You never know. I'd like to think at some point I would have, but at the crossroads, this is the last section. Then we'll get to some questions. quote by R. Buckminster Fuller, "The Dark Ages still reign over all of humanity, and the depth and persistence of this domination are only now becoming clear. This Dark Ages prison has no steel bars, no chains or locks. Instead, it is locked by misorientation and built upon misinformation. Caught up in a plethora of conditioned reflexes and driven by the human ego, both warden and prisoner attempt meagerly to compete with God. All are intractably skeptical of what they do not understand. We are powerfully imprisoned in these dark ages simply by the terms in which we have been conditioned to think. The conditioning of our thought is what has kept us in this prison. And only now, the actual depth of the dark ages that we are in are starting to become clear to some people. We are in the time that I call the apocalypse. And actually, I want to start rephrasing this. I want to actually explain to people we're not in the apocalypse anymore. We are now in post-apocalyptic times. We are living in post-apocalypse. The apocalypse has already occurred. It's over. We are living in the time after the apocalypse. And what do I mean by that? Well, we got to look at the meaning of the word. Okay? From the Greek prefix, apo, which means away from, off of, or removed from. And then the Greek verb kalyptine, which means to cover or to conceal or to hide. So, apocalypse means literally to take the cover off of, to remove the veil from, or to take something out of hiding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, another big surprise. The veil has already been lifted. The truth is already out there. It's out. The truth about what's going on here and has been going on here on the earth is out. It has been de-occulted. And not just by me, by many, many other researchers. Okay? There's a laundry list of them out on my website, and I talk about in the podcasts. All right? It's all out there. It literally means to reveal or to take out of hiding. The apocalypse is the great revealing of the truth to the masses of people. Or it is what I simply refer to as the process of de-occulting the truth, removing it from being hidden. What humanity needs to do is make what I call the cosmic apology. And I'll get to what that means. See these words right here? I was wrong. That's the most powerful phrase that can ever be said by a human being. The second most powerful phrase I would acknowledge is I love you. But this is more powerful than even that. Because this is about internal change. Not just a dynamic or an interaction or a relationship with another. This is about an internal metamorphosis. When you say these words, this is the phrase of all power. No is the word of all power by which we reclaim our power. But this is the phrase of power. All right? Okay. The word apology comes from Greek. Apo, meaning away from, off of, or removed from, as we've just seen. And the Greek noun logos. Logos means word. Okay? So hence, an apology, it literally means to go away from the word. Or to give back the word. Okay? You are taking it back. So if I make an apology, I said something, I didn't really mean it, or I want to retract it. An apology means, let me take back what I just said. Okay? I'm taking it back. I'm removing the word. All right? I'm going away from the former word or phrase that I just said. That's an apology in the standard colloquial English understanding sense. All right? Let's look at what I call the cosmic apology and where this term really comes from, what it really means. See, the Greek noun logos, which is written there in Greek script, which means word in Greek, it comes from the Greek verb lego. All right? Lego in Greek means to speak or to say. It's where we get the English word lexicon from. All right? The Latin noun legis, is related to the Greek verb lego, to say. Again, because who put the laws into manifestation? The Creator did. How did the Creator manifest the physical universe and all the laws? Spoke it into existence. Reality and truth are spoken into existence by the power of vibration, the vibratory power of voice. Okay? So the Creator created the universe by the phrase, fiat lux in Latin. It means let there be light. Okay? The Latin noun lex legis, meaning law, is actually derived from this Greek verb lego, meaning to speak or to say. God and not man is the logos, the author of law, the one who spoke the law into existence at the creation of the universe, because natural law is the boundary conditions of the manifested reality called the physical universe. These are the boundary conditions which govern it. Humanity's work is to learn to listen to God's word, not man's word, not man's law, natural law, spiritual law, moral law, God's law, karmic law. I don't care what you want to call it. Call it whatever you want. Okay? Consequentialism. This is the truth. That's what, you want to talk about what all these phrases really mean? It all comes back to the word truth. That's it. It's the truth about what is, what's operating here. And humanity needs to align its behavior to this law, God's law, natural law. Without alignment of its behavior, don't expect to natural law, don't expect a thing to change here. Expect it to rapidly grow worse. Humanity must make a cosmic apology by giving the word, okay, which means the authorship of creating law. See, we think we're the authors, we're the authorities. That's what author means, right? Author. What's another word for author? This is just this is how mind control through words works, right? An author is a what? A writer. Well, what are you saying there? An author who has authority, they are authoring something, is a writer. They are a right, R-I-G-H-T-E-R. Okay? They're making it into a right. This is what you hear when you hear the word authority. You hear author, which means a writer, meaning one who makes rights, which means someone who believes they're God. That's all this really comes down to. In a nutshell, we're up against a class of people who believe that they can be God and own and rule everybody else. That's all the dark occult comes down to, folks. People who believe they're God. Sick, psychopathic lunatics who think they're God and are going to rule the hell of the prison world that they're going to create, that they call their dark new world order. We need to give the word back. That's what an apology is. And who it needs to be given back to is the creator of the universe, because that's the author of the law. That's its rightful owner. The word doesn't belong to us, folks. The word belongs to God. That's why it says at the beginning of the biblical text, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. You know, that's what the Logos is. Natural law. God is law. You want the best definition I could ever give you for the word God? Law. People don't want to look at it like that. Very few people ever look at it like that. That's what the force of creation is. It's natural law. It's how we co-create our reality, whether we do it consciously or unconsciously. This apology is accomplished when we open our minds and hearts to truth and we start saying the lost word, no, to evil, to the presence of evil in our lives. See, this is an initiate inside what was known as the Jed or the Djed pillars, depending on how certain people pronounce it. And these Jed pillars represented stability and enlightenment. And they represent the two principles, the sacred feminine principle of non-aggression and the sacred masculine principle of self-defense. The initiate is the enlightened one who is incorporated and bridged both pillars and has come to the place of cosmic illumination, which is represented by the winged disc of Ma'at in the Comitian tradition, which is over the lintel between the two pillars. That winged disc of Ma'at. Ma'at was considered a great mother goddess in the Comitian, the ancient Egyptian traditions. Okay? She was the force. She was a personified deity. You know, the ancient Comitians didn't actually worship a physical woman. It's not what this was. It was the personification of truth and justice and order and natural law that was encapsulated as the sacred feminine essence. And she was above all the other deities in the pantheon of Egyptian deities, of Cometian deities. Ma'at, there was no god or goddess higher. And how they looked at alignment with Ma'at is if you wanted to have order and you wanted to avoid chaos, you learned the teachings of Ma'at because she was the goddess of justice and she was the goddess of righteousness. She was the goddess that brought order if you aligned yourself to her teachings, and her teachings were natural law. So that's what this is here. This is saying we need to take away the word. It's not saying remain silent and don't use your voice. It's not what it's ever been saying. This is a symbolic allegory for the apology. All right? You know what else the G in the middle of the compasses and square is? Apollo G. The sun, the light, the generative principle. Okay? We need to make the Apollo G. All right? That's what the G in the middle of the compasses and square in allegory also represents, because one of the big deities, the Greek deities that is often kind of exemplified in the Freemasonic tradition is Apollo. He was a sun god, and he was a corollary to Horus in the Egyptian tradition, and Jesus in the Christian tradition, and Mithra in the Persian tradition, and many other sun gods that represented truth and light. All right? So that's the middle way, the middle pillar. That's what the initiate represents. I started this presentation with the slide before we begin. Now we have begun. And it's up to you to take it further. What you'll do with this knowledge is entirely up to you. See, this is a painting by Alex Gray that shows the worldview schism. Are we going to stay embedded in the left brain and in other forms of imbalance, and we're going to create the negative worldview, right? Or are we going to live in harmony with natural law, which can create this path when we incorporate the creative and nurturing and sacred feminine aspect of our beings? Natural law, living in harmony with it, can only lead to these conditions: freedom, peace, prosperity, the continuation of our species, our actual physical survival, and our evolutionary progress in consciousness. That's what living in harmony with natural law leads to. Conversely, living in opposition to natural law will get us this side of the world tree. It'll bring this world, this hellish world of chaos and destruction. Because living in opposition to natural law can only lead to these states: control, enslavement, war, chaos, evolutionary stagnation, and ultimately the extinction of our species. Which will we choose? That's still up in the air. I can't tell you that. Only each individual can make that decision for themselves, and then that will play out in the aggregate, in the mass consciousness, the numbers. Thomas Jefferson said, "A free people claim their rights as derived from the laws of nature." And this was also embedded in the Declaration of Independence. The laws of nature and of nature's God, and not as the gift of their magistrates. John Locke said, "The natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power on earth, and not to be under the will or legislative authority of man, but only to have the law of nature for his rule." Former Grand Master of the Order of the Rose Cross, the Rosicrucian tradition, Francis Bacon, said, "Nature, to be commanded, must first be obeyed." If we want the forces of the cosmos on our side, we have to learn and adhere to the principles of natural law. If we do not align our behavior to that, nature will not stand with us. It will continuously stand against us, and it will itself create more strife and suffering in our lives. And we certainly won't command it. We won't command its forces with things like free energy used for any positive purpose. It'll only be used for destructive purposes. The psychologist Alfred Adler said, there is a law that man should love his neighbor as himself. And he's referring, of course, here to the Golden Rule. In a few hundred years, it should be as natural to mankind as breathing or the upright gait. But if he does not learn it, he must perish. And you know, folks, I would really hope this is going to take less than a few hundred years. But based on where we're at, I'm not so sure. You know? I think we could do it a lot faster than that if we accept the key that's been shown here today, that, as I said before, has the power to unlock all the locks on all the doors to all the cages. And that's what the knowledge of natural law comprises. Will we make the choice to climb the ladder of consciousness through an act of our own free will, choice, and effort? It's not a simple climb. I mean, it's a difficult climb. It's not overly complicated to learn these concepts, to learn these truths. It involves abandoning many things that we've already been conditioned with that don't serve who we are, okay? But I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, all right? It involves a lot of deep introspective work. But if we do it, we can step out of the prison that we've imposed upon ourselves by balancing the sacred feminine and masculine forces within each one of us. And by recognizing our own inherent sovereignty, and that there is no legitimacy and never has been any legitimacy to slavery and control and the external rulership of human beings as subjects. Okay? That recognition of sovereignty has to go hand in hand with our knowledge of natural law. It's a totally integrated component of it. This was the title slide. This tarot card was on the title slide. When you understand, and I've talked about this in some of my work online, when you understand the deep connection to the tarot tradition and other mystery tradition teachings, specifically its very deep interwoven relationship to the Kabbalistic tradition of the Middle Eastern mystery traditions, all right? You understand that this card right here actually represents the will of creation and what creation itself, what the mind of the universe itself ultimately wants to manifest in physical reality. Not in some other worldly dream world or fantasy realm or spiritual reality that is to come or not come. Right here in the physical domain, which is not separate and distinct from the spiritual domain. They are one and the same. This card is known as the Justice card. Okay? And it's based on the Latin word jus, which means right or law. Okay? That's where we get the English word justice. This card represents balance between the pillars, as you see on the right side of the king, holding the sword of truth in hand, and the scales of truth and justice have been perfectly balanced and are in the other hand. And it represents sovereignty. And it represents alignment with natural law. And most of all, it represents alignment with truth and the manifestation of order. That can only happen when we align our behaviors to the principles of natural law. Only then will we see the manifestation that the universe is itself wishing for us and trying to help us create, which is justice and order. If we let go of the things that are holding us back and break our mental chains of bondage, we can create a world that is based in actual, real freedom. It is possible. I'm not telling you it's not going to be arduous work or a difficult journey, but it can be done. Okay? If we choose to do that, we're going to see advances and things that are going to be created that the world is going to look so drastically different if we go down that middle path to the truth and to order and to justice through the understanding of natural law and actually applying it and living it in our lives, that the changes we're going to experience are going to be so positive and so transformative that we can scarcely even imagine what the world will be like on the other side of that work, on the other side of that transformation. Will that be done? Maybe. Maybe not. The answer will come from what you see in the reflection of that device right there. That's what will determine it. Nothing else. It's up to each individual. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your kind attention today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Finally, this right here, Lex Rex, simply means the law is king. The law is king. Lex Rex. That's my final slide. Thanks so much. Let's do some question and answer. How much time do we have, by the way? Did I run way over or did I leave some? Oh my God. Hey, I'm very happy that the venue allowed us to go over by this much, okay? And that they didn't just come in and say, you got to get out of here. So I really did want to leave time for questions, but I think it would be, I don't know if it would be really just, intrusive and ignorant at this point to just stay even beyond this time. So maybe we should start packing it up, all right? I apologize for going so far over. I think the information speaks for itself and is worth it, and I hope I was clarified on that. Listen, I'll tell you what. If anybody has specific questions, since there's no time for questions, let me just get this across, okay? Since there's no time for questions, I'll make a personal effort, and I rarely tell people I will respond to email questions. You tell me that specifically that you attended this seminar here today in an email, and if you have a specific question, get to the specific question quickly in your email, and I will make the time over the next few weeks to try to respond to everybody. I'll promise that. How's that? Does that sound okay? All right, great. Thank you. Thank you guys all so much for being here, for staying for the whole thing. Thank you. I'm very impressed with you guys today. That takes a tremendous effort of will and attention. So, thank you guys so much.